Did you know that understanding and interpreting welding symbols can save you hours and prevent costly mistakes at site? My friend, this video will help you understand the basics of welding symbols. Let's get started. Welding symbols provide a system for placing complete welding information on drawings. These are not just for welding inspectors, but other welding personnel such as designers, supervisors, and engineers alike. Let us distinguish first the difference between a welding symbol and a weld symbol. The welding symbol refers to the totality of the welding symbol, meaning it has the three main parts, meaning the arrow, the reference line, and the tail. These are the three main parts of the welding symbol: the arrow, reference line, the arrow, the reference line, and the tail. But the welding symbol only has the two main parts for it to exist, meaning if these two parts do not exist in the welding symbol, meaning the welding symbol will not be called a welding symbol. And that two parts is the arrow and the reference line. Remember that during the CWI exam, because I think it is being asked during the exam, what are the two parts that shall exist in the welding symbol? That the answer there will be the arrow and the reference line. With that out of the way, what is the weld symbol? The weld symbol is the type of weld that is indicated in the welding symbol. So meaning, as you look at this table, the weld symbol may indicate the type of the weld in the joint, meaning if it is square, if it is a V type, if it is a bevel type, if it is a U type, etc. The weld symbol indicates the type of weld that will be indicated in the joint. So for example here, if it is a V weld, you will indicate here the V weld, something like that. So as you have seen, as I've discussed earlier, we have three parts of the welding symbol: the reference line, the arrow, and the tail. But for a welding symbol to exist, the arrow and the reference line must be present in the welding symbol. The tail you can omit, but later we will discuss how this tail will be used and how powerful it is when writing a welding symbol. So for the reference line, this line is always drawn horizontally and is applied to the weld. The reference line is always drawn horizontally and is used to apply the weld symbols and other data. So this reference line is where you draw the type of weld that is indicated in the joint. So this reference line can also be used multiple times. So if you have multiple reference line that you will have to use indicating the sequence of operation, you can also do that. So the arrow indicates where the welding joint or area to be welded. For example, you have a joint here, then the arrow is that one. You indicate the joint that the arrow will, or you indicate the type of weld that the arrow will point, and the corresponding welding symbol it will represent. For example, if you have a fillet there, the arrow will point there, the fillet weld symbol, something like that. The tail contains the specification or process involved in welding. The tail indicates the welding or cutting process to be used or any other supplementary information, such as codes, drawing notes, and sometimes, to avoid repetition, the abbreviation typical is indicated as well. So as I've mentioned, though the tail is not an essential part of the welding symbol, It can be a powerful tool to indicate notes in the drawing, such as the typical notes, what type of welding process to be used, if it, for example, GTAW or SMAW, something like that. So you can use the tail to specify specific information for the weld that you will need to incorporate in the drawing, or that will be needed to be followed at site. For the basic welding symbol, just like I've alluded earlier, these are the basic weld symbols that you'll need to indicate in the reference line, indicating the type of weld that will be produced at site. Dimensions and other data. So the welding symbol needs to indicate what dimensions that will be employed at site. For example, you have a fillet weld right here. Then the size of fillet weld you indicate on this side. So something like that. That indicates the size of the fillet weld. For the supplementary symbols, these are used in connection with the weld symbol and can indicate extent of welding and material included in the preparation of the weld joint. The supplementary symbols are indicated in this table. So these are the supplementary and finish symbols. So as you can see, it indicates the supplementary symbols are the weld all around, meaning the weld shall be welded on all sides of the joint. Field weld, meaning the weld must be done at site. And others, such as the melt-through symbol and the consumable insert, if you need to have a consumable insert prior to the preparation of the weld, and and for the backing or spacer as well. The contour or the supposed finish of the weld is also specified here if it is specified as flat, convex, meaning the weld has a convex finish, or a concave finish, meaning it is curved inward or outward, as seen in the symbol. So you can use the welding symbol to specify finish preparation of the weld as well. The multiple reference line also indicates sequence of operation. As I've mentioned earlier, you can have multiple reference line such as this one. As you can see, we have the first reference line as the first operation, then the second reference line as a second operation, then the third reference line as the third operation. As in this example, you can see that the first operation has these different kinds of welds. These symbols correspond to the weld symbols indicated here in this table. Meaning, for the first operation, you will need to do this type of weld first, then the other one, and then the third one. Multiple reference line indicates the series of operation that is needed to be done sequentially for the welder to follow. Meaning, for the first operation, he might need to do a specific type of weld first, then the other one in another type of weld, and then the other one maybe the finish, or another type of weld and its finish, something like that. For the weld symbol location and placement, the question here is, where will you put the weld symbol? Is it below the reference line or above the reference line? So if the joint here is on this side of the arrow, meaning this side, you will need to indicate the weld symbol below the reference line, meaning arrow side, this side of the joint. But if the weld is on the other side of the joint, meaning this one, for example, then you will need to indicate the weld symbol above the reference line, or what we call the other side. So to demonstrate that further, if you say you have a fillet weld right here, then you indicate this you have this weld right here, then the weld symbol must be below the reference line right here. But if you have a weld symbol, for example, or the weld configuration like this, and you point the arrow like this, then the symbol must be on the other side, like this one. So that's the weld symbol location and its placement and the side significance of the placement of the weld symbol. Let's look at these examples further. For example, here we have a 5/16 inch of a fillet weld. So if you're gonna point the weld symbol like this, then the symbol must be like this, below the reference line, indicating that the weld is indicated on the arrow side. How about this one? If the joints are on the both sides of the joint, meaning we have a 1/2 inch size of fillet weld right here, so if you're gonna point it like that, then we have a joint on the arrow side, on this side. This is the arrow side. This is the arrow side. Then we have to indicate it like that, indicating that the joint is on the arrow side, below the reference line, and the other one to indicate the joint on the other side, or the weld on the other side of the joint, we have to indicate like this one, for the other side of the joint. So we have a fillet weld on both sides of the joint. So how about this one? We have a combination of weld symbols right here. So as you can see here, the other side of the joint has a combination of fillet weld, this one, and a single bevel groove weld, because it has a preparation like this one. So it indicates the single bevel groove weld, or a single V groove weld. So this symbol indicates a combination of a single V groove weld and a fillet weld. Should be on the other side of the arrow. So meaning the weld symbols corresponding to the fillet weld and the single V groove weld should be on the other side of the joint, meaning it must be above the reference line, because it is on the other side of the joint. How about the fillet weld on the arrow side? So you have to indicate the fillet weld as well. So meaning you have to indicate it below the reference line because it is on the arrow side of the joint. So you can indicate multiple or a combination of weld symbols in one reference line as well. You'll just have to be mindful of where the side of the joint lies. So if it lies on the other side, you have to indicate it above the reference line, and if the joint lies on the arrow side, you have to indicate it below the reference line. The use of the tail. So a tail can be a powerful tool to indicate information, specific information in the drawing, to indicate a specific welding process, to indicate notes in the drawing, and as I've mentioned earlier, to indicate the use of a typical note. So for example here, this welding symbol has a tail that indicates GTW, meaning you will have to use gas tungsten arc welding or TIG for the welding process to create that joint. And also in this example as well, you can see C note 1A. So the engineer or the designer just indicated the note in the tail of the drawing so as not to confuse the welding personnel to what exact instruction he needs to follow. So he just indicated in the tail, just like this one, C note 1A, in whatever drawing it might be. Also, to prevent repetition of the details, you can also indicate typical here, or TYP, to indicate that these details will be used for these 5 gussets or these 5 places as indicated in the tail. So you can use the tail as a powerful tool in indicating those specific information that will save time as well, and to point out specific instructions to the weld personnel at site. So some exercises right here to apply what we learned, especially in the weld side significance, especially in the weld symbol side significance. So if you have a weld cross section here, the weld symbol that we have to indicate here is like this one. So we have a fillet weld. If you're gonna throw the arrow like this, then this will be this side, or the arrow side, just like that one. How about this one? We have different size of fillet. So I'll have a separate video discussing the fillet welds and their dimensions as well. So stay tuned for that. So for this one, we have both sides of the joint indicated with the fillet weld. So we can just indicate like this one. So we have joints on the arrow side and a joint on the other side of the joint. So for this one, we have multiple sides of the joint that has a welding symbol on it. So in this drawing, we have 4 joints indicated, right? So what we can do here is we can put a joint right here indicating the fillet weld in this side, 3/16, and the 5/16 on the other side, just like that. Then to indicate these welds, we can draw the weld symbol like this one. So the arrow side is the 1/4 inch weld, and the other side is the 3/8 inch weld. So something like that. So you don't need to indicate the welding symbol on every side of this joint. No, you may not do that, but you can just indicate the weld symbol as this one. You can indicate the welding symbol like this one. So you just indicate on this side of the joint, then use the reference line. If it is below the reference line, meaning it is this side of the joint. Then if it is indicated above the reference line, it is on the other side of the joint.
So if you need further guides in writing WPS or practice questions regarding the CWA exam, I have the playlist right here. If you need to practice these welding symbols, I've also uploaded in the description below the PDF guide that I've just used in preparing this video. So if you've enjoyed this type of video, please don't forget to leave a like and comment down below for further questions. Also, please subscribe to this YouTube channel if you want to become a CWI. Stay tuned for more. See you on the next one.